Cannot remember the name of it right now. But actually the game's already started, so perfect. Alright, let's go. Hello everybody and welcome to our first game, King of the Hill, episode 5. Today we have had a bit of a situation where Paul, our reigning king, was not able to make it. We think perhaps he was swept away by some kind of storm or hurricane. Either that or something happened on the Bitcoin stock markets and he's just decided that that is a better investment of his time. But two people who have good things to do today are going to be challenging each other to become our new king. The first, of course, is going to be Talisman, playing as the Soviets on the south side of Bayo. And his competitor today, who hasn't done particularly well in this event so far, but is a phenomenal auto match player, also holding the top 2v2 cup position at the moment in Company of Heroes, winning the 2v2 Classic in December of last year. That is going to be Kimbo God. And of course, he, playing as OKW, has gone straight in with Special Operations Doctrine. So, going to be bringing in a defined strategy right from the start. So let's have a quick look at the map before we do anything else. So we can see VPs are spread here. We see fuel and munitions on either side. The fuel for each player is closest to the base. Fuel and munitions. And they are split evenly. So this is an interesting map design. I really like this because it promotes spearheading, having a dominant position in the center, and then leaning left and right to cutoffs, which are close to the enemy territory. The cutoffs, of course, will make resource denial really cool. But of course, if you can handle that, then you also have the option of going out to the wings, taking 2 VPs and resources. So a lot of interesting map plays, I always feel, come out of map design that is like this. And as you see, we do have some garrisons, very small amount of garrisons on this map. But we'll see how that goes at the start. We're already having our first engagements now. So Stern Pioneers force Talisman's engineers off of the field. Penal Battalion's going to get straight into the scout car. And this is going to make for good mobile harassment at the start of the game. And sensible from Kimbo. He's going to try and take cover inside this building, benefiting from the green cover inside of here. Of course, this is a good fight for Talisman. There's only 2 windows on the side of this house, which means only 2 models retaliating. And Talisman going straight for that cutoff point. We were just talking about that a second ago. And that, of course, means all that work to get the fuel on the left-hand side immediately negated. So, of course, Soviets in the start game, they do struggle a little bit, just because of the sheer amount of manpower it takes to get things like penal battalions and the tier 1 building on the field. So whilst it looks like Kimbo has a much better army on the field quicker, the quality of the units that Talisman is bringing out right now are far superior, and as these units do begin to build up, they will be able to control and dominate the field better and better at each moment. That being said though, Talisman does have to be careful that he doesn't have his weaker units caught off guard. Of course, this is such a good opportunity for Talisman to chase. We can see there's a little bit of negative cover along the roads there, which should mean that some of these models get dropped. Stern Pioneers need to be very careful here. Kimbo needs to pay attention. And again, Talisman is really keen to stay on top of this strategic point and make sure that Kimbo does not get access to fuel. And it looked like Kimbo was going for double fuel there because he keeps moving to take that fuel on the southeast side. So again, you now see these beefy units to penal battalions from Talisman. They shouldn't encounter too many problems. Mine just went off actually. Stern Pioneers laid an early mine. Really nice by Kimbo actually. Getting the models down from the penal battalions in the early game is a great way of stopping, well, basically forcing Talisman to spend the manpower resource. This is a great idea to get the engineers out of the scout car into the building, and now they have a great vantage point to deal with those Volksgrenadiers. It's a very late retreat though. Can there be one more flame burst to take that model down? Unfortunately, no. Nice incendiary grenade there from Kimbo. Forces the engineers out. Penal battalions have just got to stop those Volksgrenadiers from getting the last Faust off on the scout car. And a great game so far, actually. Very active early game. Good to see the players really being aggressive on a map that they're likely not familiar with. They're not going to have the kind of knowledge that you get from playing on a 1v1 map time after time. I think that scout car looks like it may get found out here. That is, of course, unless the Pintle MG is able to deal with these Volksgrenadiers. Now this is interesting because the Volksgrenadiers are going to have to cross the negative road cover, but unfortunately it looked like the MG was reloading. There is a chance though, there is a chance that he can get away with that. Talisman very luckily there manages to keep his scout car alive. He's now got penal battalions going for the strategic point, and they will catch this Volksgrenadier on the retreat. It is a negative cover road, and it looks like we might see the first squad wipe of the game from Kimbo. Talisman there, locking that down. And that is really good. Really, really good. Well played by Talisman, really, at the start of this game. He has now gone for guards. I think he realizes that he is at a resource disadvantage at the start of this game from having invested so heavily in the tier 1. He's going to get some anti-tank capabilities from his guards. And this is nice. Of course, this does mean he's chosen guard motor coordination tactics, which has the powerful T-34-85 variant in the late game. But Kimbo going to be making use of his time to do some serious capping. One thing we saw about Talisman actually in the previous episode was that he kept on top of the VPs very well. So even when he was losing for a long period of time, he had played really well to make sure that he had VPs and he had a lot of time to get late game vehicles onto the field. So he's doing the same thing here. You see the VPs, even with the lack of territory control, he has prioritized that. Kimbo, of course, with this ugly Halloween skin. He had gone for the battle grouper. Brought out the flak half track. Good unit just to help lock down. It's also going to be good against the scout car. If that scout car tries to push in near, and actually dominating the fuel point there will be helpful.
Overt tactics now available to frontline troops. Night vision Sturmgewehr are now available.
Interestingly, with the guards, this is a really good unit to bring on in the early game, because you just don't want to be upgrading your penals with the PTRS unless it's absolutely necessary. They will lose a lot of that really beefy anti-infantry power when you do. So having the guards there as the anti-tank unit is going to make sure that Talisman still keeps a very sizable anti-infantry presence on the field. You can just see Talisman here is now going for tier 3, likely going to get that T-70 out. That being said, actually one of the PTRS upgrades has gone on to penal battalion, so Talisman not comfortable just to sit with one squad of guards, and I think that's acceptable. This is a great lockdown from Kimbo. He's gone for territory denial. Neutralized all those resources from Talisman. They should be easily reconnected though. The flak half track is there, just trying to suppress the penal battalions. Now we're going to see the Volksgrenadiers, the STG upgrade, constantly dominating that line. It's a very delicate game at the moment, as Talisman really has to wonder if he can get those PTRSs in on the flak half track. Of course, T-70 is coming in very shortly, so this little advantage from Kimbo will be short-lived. Oh, what a nice flame burst. Can't go wrong with that. Ooh, not sure about that from Talisman. I know what he was trying, but of course what makes this really bad is the retreat path, and the T-70 is just on the field, so could have waited. No real reason for that. Very confused at that decision. Look at that early from Talisman. He knew to get out of the building from the incendiary grenade, and we do have an MG34 from OKW, which was trying to catch them and suppress them. Potential squad wipe there, but of course Talisman doesn't want to have to retreat through this long... Oh wow. Wow. Doesn't want to have to retreat through that, basically. But he did, and he did take a squad wipe for it. Very good mining from Kimbo there as well. He's put it on the road. Of course, vehicles do take the path of least resistance most commonly, so that being on the road has a good chance of snaring a vehicle at some point in this game. Kimbo's actually getting value from the half-track there. There goes the mine on the Peel Battalions in the centre. Talisman should have an idea now that Kimbo is using mines. Should get another engineer squad out with some minesweeping capability. Here you go, just see Talisman. He's trying to get control of the map again. Raketin from Kimbo on the field. I think Talisman has an idea that this will be around. As soon as you bring out the T-70, you should expect that counter.
Enemy is alerted to our presence. Prepare for counter strike. Upgraded.
Oh, okay. I wondered what he was firing at then. It looks like he destroyed the wreckage with the T-70 to stop Kimbo from being able to salvage. Of course, OKW salvage giving a little bit of fuel. It's a sensible thing to do if you have time. Pretty good early game so far. Nothing major has happened yet. Nice burst there from the guards and the PTRS Penals. They nearly get that closing shot off on the flak half track. And I think the T-70 was trying to poke in there. The Raketin has now revealed itself. And now Talisman knows to be extra careful when he's rolling around. Gotta say, the game is just very, very even. I think we've had one squad wipe for each player. They're about the same VPs. Even their income, their resources is relatively the same, so nothing really to say yet in terms of who's likely to be victorious. Well, as we get into a lull point, we'll have a quick look at some of the teching going on. Kimbo is going to go for another Raketin. Getting double Raketins off on the T-70 is a really good way of taking that down quickly.
An anti-tank battery is ready for deployment.
Not much in the way from Talisman. I think actually just looking at the armies at the moment, I'm not sure that Kimbo is healing his units back in the base. He has got the battle grouper. Oh, they are now. So a lot of them have been going back into the
standing by for setting of command post.
Back into the battle without healing. There comes that satchel from the Penals. Is Kimbo paying attention? Yes, he is. Heard that immediately. The MG34 position slightly behind the Volkswagen to get that crucial suppression on. I really, really like this. There's a Raketin protecting that MG34 from the T-70 flank, so Kimbo actually covering all bases right now. Smart play so far. Talisman going for those territory denials again. He may get double fuel here if he can just hold out with the guards. should be an incendiary grenade popped into that building. Actually, it's going to be the infiltration grenades. So Kimber there trying to predict the units getting out of the building and back in again. Oh, nice! The guards actually managed to hop in and make abandon on the half track. Oh, I'm not sure that was worth it, given that that's abandoned. That is it's unlucky for Talisman, to be honest. It was a good play by him. Very good play to keep hopping in and out of the building and get that PTRS shot off. Of course, you saw Kimbo there. He did try to ghost sandbag the guards in. But by this time, of course, Flag Half Track was down. T70, I think Talisman knew. He always knew that that was abandoned. But he's going to leave himself up to 2 Rakettans. First shot's off. Second shot is off. Not enough to take the T70 down. That was a smart move by Talisman. I know a lot of people have very mixed feelings about the abandoned mechanic. I'll be very clear with my thoughts. I actually like the abandoned mechanic. I think it creates a new focus point for the game outside of VPs and resource points. Punishes players for diving in with tanks solo, which some people like, some people don't like. I just feel like it's a nice, interesting, it creates the drama that I love to see. Actually, the mechanic was really improved when they made sure that abandoned vehicles always suffered engine damage. That never used to be the case. So do remember, it could be worse. I think back in the base at the moment, it looks like tier 4 is going up for Talisman, so we should start to see the T-34-85 variants hitting the field relatively soon. Kimbo, even having gone for special operations, has invested his fuel in tier 4, so it will be a bit of a delay before we see a Panther out on the field from him, if that's what he elects to go for. Such great reaction times from Talisman. He always knows which unit is likely to throw the grenade, and he's always there to make sure he can move that unit when the grenade is thrown. Great defense of that fuel point. Actually, Talisman now still claiming he's on plus 30 fuel per minute. Kimbo's on plus 19. So it's going to be an even longer period before we see that Command Panther. Not sure what the T-70 aims to achieve there. Not sure what's going on with Talisman's guards though. Putting a little bit too much effort into the T-70 and has neglected to cap the VP on that side. Special operation flares being called down from Kimbo. And the location of that, just over here by the T-70, those Rakettans I think want to know, and there we go. Special operations flares having an immediate effect in use as they get 2 crucial hits off, forcing that unit pretty much back into the base. Talisman's got to play a really careful game here because he is outnumbered. There are 2 suppression platforms from Kimbo making movements difficult. This is wow from Kimbo. Double infiltration grenades, body blocking with the Volks Grenadiers. Second squad of guards go down. Talisman must be furious. And you just can't knock. You can't knock it when it's good play. It really was from Kimbo. Every time the map looks like it goes in Talisman's favor, Kimbo's there to say something about it. He gets all the map control back. Kimbo's actually going to go for a Panzer IV. And it's going to be up against the T-34-85, which is in the build for Talisman right now. Talisman now just has to really consider where to go from here. Last week, his play with the T-34-85, I would say, was exceptional. He actually made a lot of very good plays with the T-34-85, so here we go though. It's going to be that Panzer IV up against the T-34. Classic matchup. We can just say that Talisman has a much nicer skin on his vehicle. Another squad wipe there. Penal battalions. All these units, they've got such long retreats. There's actually a Talisman mine, which snares the Panzer IV. Where is that T-34? T-34 should have picked this up. Has a great opportunity to go over to the right-hand side of the map now.
Enemy forces are attempting to
Another mine just here. And look at that, actually the Raketans are in retreat as well. I don't see any other mines around here, so with mark target on and that T-34-85 marauding around looking for that Panzer IV, I think it's safe to say Kimbo should lose this. Look at Talisman there, he's just trying to make sure his frontal armor is ready. You should be making use of mark target though, because every penetrating shot's going to have a big increase in damage, but actually I'd say hasn't really found the position he wanted to engage that. Kimbo of course is back on the field now with the Volksgrenadiers, so no chance for the guards to get shots off, no chance for the T-34 to pursue that. But one thing I will say is that Talisman is being very, very careful with that T-34-85, and he knows that is his absolute lifeline. He just took a ground attack shot there, so it's clear the reason that he didn't push in was because he thought there was a mine there. So he is being careful. Let's have a quick look at the stats right now. Nothing particularly telling still. Bad setup there on the MG34. The Raketans come in to defend it. I think there is a line of sight blocker here, which just stops the Raketans from being able to fire. I wonder if Talisman knew that. And this is where it gets really dangerous when Kimbo gets on that retreat path. He actually tries to ghost sandbag in the guards, gets the infiltration grenades off again, but I think the guards may be okay on this occasion to escape.
We are losing supplies to the enemy.
And again, I mean, it's just one of these things for Talisman. He's when you're that far into enemy territory, he knows what Kimbo can do with those blocks and infiltration grenades. The Talisman's having to hit the retreat very early in these engagements.
You need light anti-tank support?
Talisman looks like he's getting dragged around this map everywhere. We see T-70 there, just going into recon mode. Got a huge line of sight, which is going to allow precision movements for the Soviet infantry. I'll just keep line of sight on for a second so that we can see what Talisman can see.
Our territory is falling
A
into
little bit
enemy
of scouting. Talisman has to be very careful if he's going to pick a fight here, because of course the Rakettans, which cloak and set up on the front lines, would be devastating if the Panzer IV decides to chase, and we might start to see that happen now. T-34 is going to take the bait, and this is a mistake from Talisman. You should know that something like this is going to be waiting for him. It's a good job he didn't dive into that engagement more than he did. And Talisman's control of the VPs has just been phenomenal. Even in the worst of situations, he'll still manage to claim and hold 1 or 2 VPs, which just make sure he has the time he needs to get counters on the field.
The enemy is encroaching on our territory.
And I think Kimbo now is probably going to be going for that command Panther. Special operation flares have just gone down. I think... Yep. Just here, so Kimbo can now see kind of what's hanging around Talisman's base. He sees this building is occupied, but he doesn't see the huge army that Talisman has just taken over to the left-hand side of the map. And we could be seeing maybe a flank here. Talisman's prepared for it, but he also sees, Kimbo sees an opportunity to go in for this garrison. Talisman needs to be very careful because the health of that building drops quite a lot against that Panther IV.
Supply lines have been cut.
And I think Talisman there is trying to perhaps bring the T-70 in as some kind of bait for that Panzer IV to be snared. The T-34 is actually waiting for when that happens. So Talisman is lining up to make a play. Doesn't look like the opportunity's arisen. And this is interesting. I didn't think I'd see this. Talisman's going to go for the Su-85. So instead of microing that T-34, multiple T-34s, getting the flanking going, trying to get those rear armor shots. He's going to go for higher penetration from the front. And a good thing too is that Command Panther hits the field from Kimbo. There's that Su-85. We already see that the Command Panther is going for the T-34. And there's the first sighting. The Rakettans line up as well. This is a great shot. Mark target from the Command Panther goes in. There's the shot from the Su-85, but the T-34 will go down to a great position from Kimbo. One more shot from the Su-85 will threaten the Command Panther away, but that is a big loss for Talisman. We see a late retreat from this penal battalion in the north. Got across negative cover roads as well. It will be a squad wipe for certain.
A squad of infantry has been killed. Death before retreat.
And what a shame. Talisman is actually the top rated 1v1 player actually in this game, winning the Grand Championship Series 2 last year. He holds the current 1v1 trophy, and he has had some very unfortunate events happen in his games. That being said, Kimbo has played very well here. And third time lucky, as they say. You see Kimbo again. He's got the special operations flares. I think this was from the previous engagement, actually. Mark target in on the Su-85. Rakettans have a good position. They were ground attacking there. And actually, one of them gets a successful ground attack. And the Su-85 is down. Could not have worked out better. Talisman has no vehicle presence on the field right now. A lone T-70, which I think is trying to bait units into mines. But that is not going to be enough. There's no PTRS upgrade on the penals, so no chance of a snare. Oh no! He tried to pick up the PTRS. That has led to an amazing crush and an amazing finish. Talisman, his second showing, King of the Hill, once again back in his base.
Another vehicle has been lost in the defense of the Rodina. Our territory is falling.
I think the real question right now is how long before Talisman hits the surrender button. You can see on the graphs there.
We need to re-establish our supply lines.
Chances are looking pretty slim. PTRS is doing some serious damage to that Panzer IV. And Mark Target, which was called down, really helps the PTRS's deal with medium armor like that. Just such a shame that he didn't get those finishing blows off. Talisman here, oh wow, look at this, he's getting his boxing gloves on. He has not finished this game. Back-teching down to tier 2, clearly going for some AT guns. Question is, what really can he do at this point? Sensible from Kimbo, setting up the MG34. He's anticipating that Talisman's going to be going for those VPs. And again, you hear that artillery sound, you know the special operations flares. And they're being called down. Oh. Let's have a look. Just outside of Talisman's base at the moment, actually, so they won't have picked up that assault. Gotta be so careful here though, because of course Kimbo will move onto the retreat path. And you don't want to be retreating through 4 squads of Volksgrenadiers. There will be ghosting. There will be infiltration grenades, and here they come! Right now. That is exactly what you don't want.
Enemy group down.
Make no mistake either, like for OKW, you know, they thrive on this kind of roaming, hitting the retreat paths, and you really have to have map control against a player like Kimbo. If you don't have map control, he's going to be able to spearhead you and really drive those retreat path squad wipes, of which we've seen so many in these games.
The fighting has lowered the enemy down to 200 points.
Poor Talisman. He's got his engineers up at the front at the moment. They're going to be providing vision for the AT gun. The flank in here, I think, is the guards set up in position. Actually making use of back in the fight. I like that he's been using that, to be honest. I like that whenever he's been approached, or whenever he's come up against an AT gun, he's gone for that. Did we see Kimbo trigger this mine here? It is triggered. Is there a follow-up? Kimbo's going to know that it's essential to stop that AT gun from getting back into the base, but of course there is one hiding right back in the wings, which has just come on. PTRSs, they don't have access to button. They should be able to deal with the medium armor, and they do. Panzer IV is down, and we are no closer to Talisman coming back from this game. I don't need to cast. I'll just leave it on the graph.
All gun batteries reporting. Reconnaissance by flare now available.
Look at that talisman, really no chance. He can only hit retreat pretty much at the start of every engagement. He is being triple capped, which is 0.75 VPs per second being drained from him. Some kind of Mexican standoff going over here on the right. I'm not really sure. Can the MG not see that there are guards there? Pretty sure. No? Really? What kind of next level camouflage is that?
They are now at 100 points.
And then he sets up the wrong way. Oh, but Talisman didn't take the opportunity to engage the unit. Instead, he hit retreat. Oh. Oh, good job he did hit retreat, but it wasn't going to save him. Talisman just doesn't want to give up.
Panzer IV, ready for action. Panzer IV, ready.
Well, let's have a little bit of a tour of this map. Enjoy it in all of its splendor. Just ignore the fact we see one of the most horrendous vehicle skins that we've ever seen. But it is a beautiful map, actually. This is Spanky's map, Bayo, and good design. Very good design.
Push your attack. They are down to 50 points.
Some good strategic cutoffs on this map. Having the resources spread far out. It's really put pressure on the players to perform well and focus on those retreat paths, of which Talisman just hasn't been on top of it in this game. But 30 VPs remaining. It is going to be GG. Kimbo is going to become king. There we have it. GG, Kimbo, our new king.